Fortnite and controversy are no strangers. There have been plenty of incidents in Fortnite history that are controversial. The one that comes to mind first is definitely Chapter 5 Season 3. I have never seen a single season get the highest of praises from people while the others say it's the worst thing created. Now, I'm not saying that Galactic Battle holds a candle to that level of controversy, but there were definitely some problems. Obviously, this is a Star Wars themed season, so naturally, that's gonna create a divide in the fan base, since on one side, people are absolutely losing their shit because it's their favorite franchise, and then on the other end of the spectrum, you got people tweeting that they're skipping Fortnite for a month. Now, I'm gonna come out of the closet and say that I'm not a Star Wars fan. So I was a little anxious to see how Epic would execute this season, coupled that with the fact that it's only gonna be a month long. I was really surprised to see that they were vaulting every single regular weapon and would only have the blasters. That is a cool change. Even if I don't like Star Wars, I can respect Epic for doing that. But with that, it means that ammo is non-existent since the blasters recharge on their own. RIP ammo crates, you were missed. On top of that, you don't even need to hold out the weapon for it to start recharging. And I'm sure you could see where this is going. Fights would become a spam fest, and then the early game fights were a lot less strategic since you would normally only have a tiny bit of ammo, but with only blasters, that issue is just tossed away. The DC-15 and DLT-19 were solid weapons that had decent range, and the DLT-19 had a great fire rate that was mostly better for close range despite it being considered an AR. I really don't know why Epic keeps on doing this to the AR category because both of these weapons are just outclassed by the A280. Scoped guns are always better than guns without a scope. Having hit scan and having a scope just makes it so much easier. But this issue has just been a common occurrence this whole chapter. Shotguns, on the other hand, are all pretty solid. They actually made a decent spam shotgun that doesn't suck or is just too overpowered. And honestly, we should just keep the BARM over the Twinfire. The Jawa Blaster packs a punch and is very rewarding for hitting your shot. And I really like when Epic adds those high risk, high reward weapons. You need to carry a spray weapon because of how long the cooldown is, or else you're just gonna be standing there like an idiot. Now, although those shotguns are great, the ACP is still the GOAT. It's the pump equivalent this season, and it holds itself up very, very well. I hardly carried any SMGs this season. They weren't terrible, but there is a better alternative. The IQA-11 is probably the best weapon added this season. This is by far the best DMR we've had in a long time, and it not requiring any ammo just made it so much better. And I'm assuming that this was probably the main loadout for a lot of people, including myself at times, because all you have to do is just swap between the weapons whenever one overheats. There is another weapon that isn't the greatest, but it's actually my personal favorite this season, and that's the Wester 34. Dual pistols are just so much fun to use. I like to carry them over using an AR, honestly. My overall enjoyment of the season definitely went up after these got added. The other pistol, which is the DL44, is okay. There's nothing really too special about it to make it really stand out this season compared to the other weapons I just talked about. And we also have a new sniper this season. It's cool and does solid damage, but I definitely still prefer using the IQA. And I didn't even know that I had a charge attack until recently. The jetpack was also added in later this season, and I'm glad it's just not as bullshit as the War Machine jets from the Marvel season. Lightsabers were obviously coming back, and they're kind of dog shit, which I think that's completely fine since the last two melee weapons we had were a little broken and a little too easy to use. And there's already something else that is really strong, and I'll talk about it later. Plus, the mobility they offer is just very useful. And speaking of mobility, Slap Juice actually comes back. This is one of my favorite things to come out of Chapter 4. And coming from a zero build player, this shit is just so helpful for pushing people. But I'm sure it's probably gonna get axed as soon as the season ends. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the TIE Fighters and X-Wings were really fun to use, despite them being such a cheap kill. They also had 3 lives since their health isn't that high, and I'm sure that won't get buffed eventually. In any mode other than solo, these are tolerable, but in solo, it genuinely made me not want to play the game. EMPs did get unvaulted, which helped tremendously, but sometimes it just felt like I couldn't find any in the early game, so I'd literally just have to hope and pray that one just doesn't come by me. And I can't believe Epic actually added a counter to these things day one. I'm looking at you, Wrecked. And you could technically count the Force Lightning as another thing to stop the planes. Regardless though, the planes still ran rampant in solos and pretty much terrorized every lobby. They were literally the main reason I avoided solos at all costs and why I just preferred to play with my friends in the other modes. Now thankfully though, they are just a vehicle in the core modes. Oh my gosh, they're in ranked. So, To no one's surprise, TIE Fighters and X-Wings are both in ranked. Epic doesn't really like ranked and pubs to feel too different, as we could see this with the Typhoon Blade and Kneecapper both being in the loophole in their respective seasons. When you play ranked, you are looking for a higher skilled match that helps you get better at the game. And you would imagine that your deaths would be from someone that is actually skilled, right? Wrong. Someone can just do this to you. Oh, and you thought that was it? For a brief period of time, the Star Destroyer, the fucking Star Destroyer, was allowed in ranked. Who makes this shit up? It's like they just let anything go at this point because they don't care about their failing game mode. Speaking of the Star Destroyer, it got added in the last update of the season, and it's pretty much the same thing as when Godzilla was added. Obviously, it's very strong, and especially if you play solo, since damage varies on what mode you're in. As a fun little side note, when you get the Star Destroyer, all your teammates automatically go in with you, so you guys can commit war crimes together. It's really not hard to avoid this thing as long as you're in a car or a plane and you aren't getting jumped by someone. It really feels like Epic needs to add a broken, overpowered thing in every single season to appeal to the more casual fan base. But in the end, it really just ruins the experience for everyone. I never would have thought that Fortnite was just gonna secretly drop an AI Darth Vader. Now this is easily the highlight of the whole season, and I still see so many videos of people making him say the most insane shit. When he first dropped, he might have said some bad things.
Freaking fucking
what? And that was quickly patched, but you could still find the videos. Obviously, this was going to stir up some kind of drama with Fortnite because they're using James Earl Jones' voice despite him no longer being with us. But apparently, I guess he had signed a contract that allowed Disney to still use his voice even through AI. Even with this though, some people still weren't liking it. And me personally, I see both sides to it. I am strongly against the use of AI in a lot of things, and I only really view it as like a tool. But on the other hand though, I think it's really funny seeing Darth Vader say some unhinged shit.
Edging and gooning.
And it definitely made this season a lot more enjoyable. Plus, there's no way this AI feature doesn't get added back later. They weren't just gonna put this feature in for a few weeks and then just delete it forever.
Sorry.
The map got updated with 4 new POIs around each corner of the map. 3 of them are actually new locations, while Shogun Solitude was just rebranded to fit with the season theme. Both the Resistance Base and Outpost Enclave are great Star Wars locations, but they really don't serve too much purpose compared to the other 2. The First Order base has the medallion, and Vader Samurai's Solitude has the funny AI Darth Vader. This is the only new medallion this season, and I'm glad they just kept it to 1. It's pretty useful as it reduces how fast your weapon overheats and the time it takes for it to cool down. Nothing crazy, but just very useful. I'm very curious to see what they do to the Star Wars POIs after the season is over. Like, are they just gonna have the Death Star just blow up each location, or are they just gonna do the same thing to Lawless and just remove every trace of that season happening? Epic's biggest fumble this season is not adding lightsabers as pickaxes. Genuinely, how are they still not in the game yet? It's not like Epic or Disney are allergic to making money. Now, I've heard some people say that, oh, well, the lightsabers are already in the game, so it'd be confusing to tell if someone was holding out a pickaxe or the real weapon. And that would be a good point, but we have to go back to one of the worst seasons ever, Chapter 5 Season 1, which, side note, why are people making nostalgia edits of this season? This shit was horrible and boring as hell. Okay, anyways, there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle update that had mythics for each turtle's main weapon, and they also had pickaxe variants of them in the shop at the same time. So why not do the same for Star Wars? And sticking with the cosmetics for a second, why the hell did they make 2 Jar Jar Binks sold separately in the shop? Now, I don't care about buying either one, but I just feel like they could have made them just one skin. I fear Fortnite cosmetics are slowly falling off. Except for this one. This one is peak. I would be really shocked to see if we get another mini season or at least a full season centered around Star Wars because of the low player counts. I don't mind them incorporating mini seasons to break up the chapter, but if these are only gonna be collab focused, then I'd rather not see them. Apparently there are some rumors of other mini season collabs, one of them being Marvel. Again, we've literally had 2 collab themed seasons in less than a year, one of those also being a Marvel season. Plus, both of them are Disney IPs. Makes you wonder how much that 10% really is. This season wasn't perfect by any means, but I didn't think it was horrible. The first 2 weeks were pretty boring, but after Vader was added, along with the Mandalorian stuff, my enjoyment went up. To give my final rating of the season, I would say it's around a 6 or a 7 out of 10. For strictly solos, I would probably say it was like a 4. The planes made me want to bash my head into a wall. But let me know your thoughts on the season down below in the comments, and check out some of my favorite moments this season. Alright, bye.